there was an interesting statistic I came across, I think earlier this week or last week or something, but it was that 1 in 6 men is sexually assaulted or sexually abused, and I was like, I've never heard that. I've actually never heard that statistic before. I heard it because there was a set of boys who were abused and they were trying to do something to, deal with it. A study was actually done, about it. In fact, the issue was raised that it might not even be, it might be worse than that. Those might be more than 1 in 6 men, right? But the interesting thing about that statistic is that a lot of people, even when the layman or the average, person hears it, they'll say, that's so hard to believe, including the men who have actually experienced the abuse. That was the statement that kind of that, as in not just the average person on the street, including men who have been abused. They will question, that are you sure we've been, they will actually question it, and I think it was one of the things I mentioned. I remember mentioning in my first book or so, because I had come across a man who had been abused. In fact, I had come across 2 men that time. There were, one of them had been, I think his mom was a single mom. So the housemaid would always come into the room, carry him out of the room, and have her way with him, then bring him back to the room, but the other guy, he was like an older auntie in the same place where they live, had started abusing him and making him watch porn and all that. And those are the two scenarios. Now, but both of those men, both grew up to become like heartbreakers. In fact, the one who the housemaid used to carry out actually confessed to me that he became a sex addict because of it. He actually became a sex addict. He had to go to therapy and all of that to deal with that, for him to be able to marry and not have, issues and all of that. The other guy spent a lot of time, like playing around. It was so bad, even after getting married and all of that, he just can't see a woman and not think of her in that light, despite the fact that he was, let's say in Nigerian terms, he was not born again. He still, had those issues, So it's a real thing. This whole sexual abuse, it's a real thing. Aside from that, what now? Another thing I saw during the week was there's a video that went viral about a woman was slapping a man, hitting a man in the restaurant.
The restaurant, right?
Asking him for, I don't know, the keys or whatever.
Or something, yeah.
And like I tell you, for the past few weeks, I've had like, if not 5 guys in therapy, that I've had them in therapy, and they've talked about this aspect of being abused by their partners, physically sometimes, and they cannot defend themselves or try, because if the man punches back, now the woman can be, see the way she was hitting him, even I think the cutlery, I heard like a sound, but I think it was the cutlery. I wasn't sure if it was cutlery or keys. But if he tries to attack her back, now everything changes. If I had a client where that was, it was really bad, So, it's but this thing is real, and it actually happens. It happens to a lot of men, but the men cannot, it cannot. I remember in the studio once, they brought up this issue of a guy who was in a marriage for about 13 years, and finally, the thing had to break down because the woman spent the whole marriage verbally abusing. She was abusive in every way. So the guy was broken. And when he left, and I think used 2 years to get himself back together. And she came and said she wants to come back she wants to get married to him again. And the guy swore, lie, never. Now he has gotten himself. You want to come here, because we have to understand that we're all different personalities, right? And then there's also the society. We talk about a toxic masculinity, where men are not allowed to express their emotions or how they really feel about something. If a man says, I'm being abused at home, they don't want to, nobody wants to allow them. You're being what? What are you talking about? Abused how? How can you be abused? But you know that sometimes the personality, different opposites attract, and sometimes in a relationship, there's always one person with the stronger personality than the other. Maybe one person who gets their way easier than the other. Now, the issue should be that even within that relationship, there should be trust to the point that, yes, I know I have the mumu button, but I will not use it to choke you. I will
Yes.
not use it to manipulate you. I will not use it to. That is where the safety of love comes in. That's why I can't give the
Yeah.
mumu button to, I can't allow an outsider have the mumu
Yeah.
button, because there's
Yeah.
safety in this particular relationship, which is why they tell people,
Yeah.
okay, even if you want to cheat on your wife or cheat on your spouse or what have you, how are you sure that the person that you are cheating on with is in your corner truly, or
Yeah.
not just there for something that they can get, or
Yes.
not just. I mean, there's so many movies on when a woman starts an affair outside, and before she knows it, she's being blackmailed, or a man starts an affair outside, and before he knows it, he's being blackmailed because the other person on the outside wants something from them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
me being in a relationship, a safe, you know, complete relationship with somebody, there should be that
Yeah.
level of safety. I should know that the person is not going to use my weaknesses, which they very well know because we're in a relationship. Should not use those weaknesses against me, or or
Yes.
feel that because I'm going to say it's okay, everything is all right. You shout, I might not talk. Then I now want to proceed to hit his head or tell him he's a loser or he's worthless, all those things. And I think with women, we need to be, I mean, if any woman is doing, if you're watching this video anyway, and you're doing that, honestly, you are just like, yeah, I think you're shooting yourself in the leg because you're breaking down your man. And at the end of the day, you know, a broken man, nowadays we hear stories of the man went to bed, he didn't wake up, or the man committed suicide, and people were wondering when did he get to that point? As in, he never said anything to anybody. Some people can endure a lot of things for years, and they won't say anything. They won't, their personality is not the kind that will like, oh, I'm hurting, I'm hurting.
Expressive.
You need to know I'm hurting. They're not those kind of people. They will internalize those things. They'll be cooking those things. They'll be like incubating them. They'll be incubating them. The negative thoughts, the everything. They'll incubate everything. There was a case that came across my table once, and it was at a grief case. They had lost a child. But one person was okay. At least the woman seemingly seemed to get over it in her own way, but the man started drinking, right? And then from drinking, I don't think he knew that he had a mental, or he was prone to a mental health condition. Sometimes he would have
Yes.
nervous breakdowns, and then the whole family will be in disarray till they can get him under control and all of that. So,
Yeah.
which is why I mean, if you're struggling through anything, if you're a man, you're watching this video and you're struggling with anything, alcohol doesn't help the situation, drug abuse doesn't help the situation. You really need to like find somebody to talk to. But let's not even jump the gun. Let me just say some of the factors, some of the things that have led to men being prone to
Yeah.
develop these mental health conditions.